Hi, this is Danielle, the domestic scientist. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I was inspired by Beyonce's Super Bowl performance costume and by some abstract art to create some DIY Christmas ornaments. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and let's get started. Okay, so I am super excited to be talking to you about Christmas ornaments today. I am going to do two different types of ornaments, and the first one I'm going to make is the one that's inspired by some abstract art. So if you've been following my channel, you will know that I have done a restoration hardware inspired living room makeover earlier this year. If you have not seen the video, I really admonish you to check it out. I'll have a link in the description box below so you can see what I did to my living room. But in the process of doing this living room makeover, I bought a huge piece of abstract art, and this art piece was over 5 feet tall, so it's one of those that's really a statement piece in the room, and it really is a focal point for my living room. So that being the case, I decided to work with the art instead of against the art. So when it comes to my Christmas decor, my old Christmas ornaments and things really didn't go with the new theme of the living room, and so now I'm making new ornaments to kind of I guess marry all those different design pieces together, because I really want my living room to have a cohesive, well-planned and well thought out look, even though the reality is I started off moving in one direction and shifted gears kind of in the middle of the home decorating process, but sometimes that's just how things go. So I am using the colors red, white and black for these holiday ornaments. Now this is actually my second video that I'm doing with DIY ornaments. I do have another video where I was working on some ornaments and I used the same red, white and black colors, and I looked at my final product and it was just more edgy than I thought it was going to be, and so instead of doing more of a traditional really cute type of ornament, I just decided to go with the flow and do something kind of edgy and a little bit graphic that I think would go with my art pieces, and also that would just be different for Christmas. When you're doing a DIY, you really have the opportunity to be creative and to think outside the box. So I thought about painting these ornaments. Now when I did my first DIY video for Christmas ornaments, I decided to paint the inside of the ornament instead of the outside of the ornament, because I could still get that high gloss finish from the glass polish on the outside. So I am just going to take each one of these ornaments and I'm putting a little bit of acrylic paint in it, and then I'm kind of shaking them up and then turning them to the side and letting the paint drain to create different patterns and different colors, and I'm blending it. Now I will say that as much as I like the red, white and black, I honestly think just the black and white ornaments came out a little bit better. I think the red was really great, but it was very bold, and I don't know, I really like black and white. It's no surprise White House Black Market is one of my favorite stores to shop in, so I do really enjoy the black and white color combination. Now the artwork that I have in my living room does not incorporate any red. I just did red this year as my Christmas color, so I thought it would go nicely with my Christmas decorations, but it's not going to compete with my more neutrally toned artwork. Now speaking of artwork and trying to mix things together, my goal is to make sure that my home decor, whether it be seasonal or otherwise, really does kind of go with my art. I don't want to work against this piece. Now, I think one of the easier ways to create a cohesive look around your home is to keep those major expensive pieces as neutral as possible, and then you can explore colors and patterns and different type of trendy items when it comes to smaller, more inexpensive accessories. So for example, you want to keep your couch as neutral as possible, you want to keep your area rug as neutral as possible, and your focal pieces of artwork as neutral as possible. And once you have neutral bases, then you can always add splashes of color when it comes to your accessories. So for example, you can add pops of color in any room by adding throw pillows in or any other type of tabletop accessory, and you can continuously change the look of your rooms without breaking the bank. Now that is typically how you should do things if you're planning ahead, especially if you're starting off with a new home and you have a blank canvas. However, that's not exactly what I did for my house. Now my couch is neutral, but I did want to do more blue and white in the house when I purchased it, so I did have a rug that was really a brightly, beautifully colored abstract rug. And then when I found this art, they just didn't go together, so I had to remove the rug from the room, and I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with my rug. And now I have an art piece that is really more black and white and more neutral, and instead of the blue, I'm replacing with black. And so I'm really trying to tailor everything else in my house around this art. So when it came to Christmas decorations, I really wanted to try something bolder and a little bit more edgy, and that was going to go more along with the artwork, and it had more of that restoration hardware vibe. I just wasn't finding the type of things I was looking for when I was shopping around for ornaments, so I decided, it's nothing wrong with making your own. So I've chosen the black, white, and red color combinations because I think red will add just a really vibrant pop of color to the room, and of course the black and white is already going along with what I've already got going in the living room. So what I'm doing here when it comes to these ornaments is I'm just putting a couple of drops of paint on each side. I'm letting it drip, and then I'm shaking it up. So each piece of each ornament is going to come out completely different than the one before it. So the key for these ornaments is to, for me, I wound up having to turn these upside down just to let the excess paint drain, because I think I was a little heavy-handed with the paint. By the time I mixed the different colors, I think I put more paint than I anticipated. But after I let the paint drain out, then I left the top off for a while, and I got my blow dryer and I put it on a cool setting, and I really gave it a couple days to dry before I put the top on them, and then I hung them on my tree. So I really like this method of painting the ornaments, and I like the different patterns that it gives. Now I also considered doing like an acrylic pour type method where you mix it with like the glue and water, or whether or not you have a pouring medium. The only reason why I didn't do that is because some of those other liquids that you mix them with are meant to create cells, and I really didn't necessarily want cells. I wanted more of an abstract look, and I wanted the artwork to resemble somewhat of some of the abstract art pieces that you might see on the Restoration Hardware website, and I kind of wanted to resemble what I have hanging on the wall. Now that being said, if I was to do this again, I would probably mix black, white, and a gray in there just so I can have a little bit more variety of color, and I would tailor it a little bit more towards the art pieces that I have. But everything is a growing and learning experience, so I still love the way this ornament came out. But I think if I was to do it again, I would make some minor adjustments. But it's really about the technique. So if you're doing pink and white in your home, or you're doing a turquoise in gold, or whatever colors you're using, I think this technique would work great. And if you do acrylic pours and you want to use that method, be sure to leave me a link in the comment section so I can check out your video if you choose to do something similar. I'd love to see it. Now, I'm curious to hear from you. Leave a comment in the box below and let me know whether or not you like the black and white ornaments better, or the black, white, and red. So now let's start the second batch of ornaments. And of course, this batch was inspired by Beyonce's Super Bowl performance outfit. I purchased a set of ornaments from Hobby Lobby, and they're black. However, there are two different finishes in this set. So I have a shiny black finish, and I also have a matte black finish, or a powder coat finish. And so I'm going to go ahead and use some embellishments that I found. My first set of embellishments is like a brass strip, and it looks like those like rock studs. I don't know if you guys know about the Valentino rock studs that everybody was purchasing, but that's kind of what this embellishment strip looks like. And then the second set of embellishments, I'm actually repurposing a shirt. So I have a shirt that I've had for a couple years, and it has little spikes on the shoulders. I really like the spikes. They're not very long, and they have a flat back, so it's going to be much easier to glue because there's a flat surface that's going to be able to adhere to my Christmas ornaments. Now, one thing that I did learn in doing this project, when it comes to actually gluing and adhering something to the outside of the ornament, it's much better to use that powder coat or matte black finish. The shiny one, I just had a very hard time trying to get the spikes to adhere. So I tried a combination of 3 different things. I tried to use some crazy glue to get the spikes to stick, and I didn't like the crazy glue because it was so thin and so slippery that even though I had a flat surface on the back of the spike and I tried to get it to stay in place, just trying to hold it in place, my hand would slip a lot before I could get the glue to be tacky enough to really get that spike to adhere. So I really didn't care for the crazy glue, and also it kind of dries with the cloudy finish to it, so it kind of it kind of messes with that shiny black finish that I already have on the ornament. So I didn't care for the crazy glue. Now the E6000 was a little bit better in that it's a little bit thicker, and so I didn't have as much slip with it, but I found that the adherence with the E6000 wasn't really what I expected. And then finally I tried some hot glue. Now the hot glue seemed a little bit more promising, but the hold was not as secure as I like. So I would have to say that if I was to do this again, I would strictly do gluing the different embellishments on the powder coat, because that shiny finish was just too slick, and it seems like no matter how many great adhesives I use, I didn't get that strong connection and bond that I wanted. So if you can get your hands on a set of just powder coat ornaments and you want to embellish, that would be the best way to do it. Okay, so I'm going to take a really quick break to do a small side project. So what happened is, my first video I was making Christmas ornaments and I painted some of my ornaments a solid white color. So I decided to embellish those white ornaments a little bit by adding some black stripes to it to play up with the black and white theme. So instead of trying to paint a clear stripe, I just decided to put on a piece of tape in a circular pattern around the ornament, just so that I can get that crisp line. So as I'm arranging my ornaments in this little tray, you can kind of see how they're coming together. I should say, when I was doing the spiked ornaments, I realized I needed a lot more spikes, and it looks pretty full when I just do that side that would be exposed, but I want more than 2 of these spiked ornaments, so I'm going to see if I can't stretch out my spikes to cover another set of ornaments. But so far, I like the way they're coming together. So I am going to attach the brass rock stud pieces with some hot glue, because I think that's going to be the best way to get it to adhere, but I'm not going to actually try to adhere it to the surface till it's a little bit dry and a little bit tacky. So I am going to arrange these rock studs in 2 different patterns. I'm going to do one vertical up and down, since I do have other ornaments that I've made for this season that have a horizontal stripe. I am going to do one with a vertical stripe, and then one is going to be an X pattern in the front, and that's the one that looks the most like Beyonce's outfit. So honestly, if I could do this project over again, I would buy some more of the rock stud embellishment, because I really like the way that they turn out. But for me, I was trying to keep this particular project at a no spend project, where I wasn't going out to the store and spending any more money, but just using what I had around my house. Okay, so I am going to just confess I was struggling to kind of get the strip to line up straight. It seems like no matter how many times I thought it was straight, I kept veering off like to the side a little bit, so all of my lines were crooked. If I was to do this again, I would definitely get a pencil and kind of mark on that powder coat surface, just so you can keep your lines straight, because that's going to help with the final product. And there again, that's why I would definitely go for the powder coat or the matte finish ornaments over the glossy ones. So now let's talk about the results of today's DIY project. You are looking at a tree that contains some of the DIYs I just completed, some previously done DIYs, as well as a few store purchase ornaments on the tree. So that's my full disclosure. But now let's get into the review and my final thoughts on my DIYs. If you guys have followed my channel, you'll know I do like to critique my own work, and I like to give my audience some tips and tricks about things that I would do differently if I was to do this in the future. So what I would say about my project is, conceptually, I love what I created. When I did my first set of DIY ornaments, I was inspired by a Santa Claus suit, and so I put some leather and some crystal on the ornament because I had a Santa Claus theme that I was going for. But when I saw what I had created, it just wasn't initially what I envisioned. It was just a lot edgier, and I thought, hey, why don't I do something different? And I looked for inspiration, and I came up with part 2 of my DIY Christmas ornaments. So that being said, I think conceptually, I knocked it out of the park in terms of giving you something different, something edgy, something trendy for Christmas, especially if you wanted to do a black and white. I like the graphic ornaments that I did that are really inspired by my abstract painting. However, I just didn't care for the red infusion once I saw the final product. I think it would be a lot better if I just kept the two paint colors at black and white or black, white, and gray for those graphic ornaments, because I think they would pair better with my artwork. But overall, I do like what I created, and of course it's something you could do with any color that you want to match your artwork or whatever ornaments you already have. So it's a very versatile project. I love that. I think it was a great job. But when it comes to the spiked ornaments, that's where I feel like I had a couple of missteps. And the first thing is that when I'm conceptualizing something and I haven't seen it done before, now I don't know that there are other edgy, rock and roll ornaments out there, or if there are spiked ornaments out there. I've never seen any. I had Googled to kind of get ideas and tips and tricks for other people before taking this on myself, and I didn't see anything like it. So when you're doing something for the first time, or you don't have prior knowledge of other people having blazed the same trails, then sometimes you're just not quite sure how much to invest in it. And I chose to do this project without spending any additional money. And now that I see the way the spiked ornaments turn out, I wish that I had gone to Amazon and purchased some spikes. I honestly did not want to spend the money on the spikes, not knowing if I was going to like what a spiked ornament would look like. And now that I've seen it, I wish I had done that, because when I used my shirt, I only had so many spikes to work with, and I wanted to do at least 4 ornaments. And so I tried to space it out, and I tried to make sure that I put all of my spikes in the front so that, if I was to set the ornament in the tree, the part that was bald in the back would be hidden by the tree. So I kind of skimped a little bit on my materials because I just wasn't sure if I was going to like it and if it was worth the investment. Now that I see the final product, I would absolutely do it again. As I mentioned, I think the glossy ornaments were just very difficult to work with, and if I was to do this again, I would buy the powder coat, I would go back and buy the spikes from Amazon, and I would actually get different spikes so that they have some are a little bit longer, some a little bit shorter, and just like you see those Christmas tree cones that are different heights, I would do that with spikes in terms of having a little bit more variety in the shape, color, and size of the spikes. And so I would do that differently now that I see that I really like it. Now, when it comes to the rock stud ornaments, I actually really did like those more than I thought I would. So I wish I had another strip of that rock stud material as well, because I think it came out really great. Now, when it comes to the abstract ornaments and the spiked ornaments and the ones that are inspired by Beyonce, I actually don't necessarily like the way they look together. I like both sets individually, but I don't know that if I was decorating a tree, if I put these ornaments together. So that being said, I think they were both great. For me, I think it would be better to do one rock and roll looking tree and then one abstract art looking tree and keep them separate. Like, that's what I think is ideal. But leave a comment in the box below and let me know what you think about how the different type of ornaments look together. Now, that being said, I do think overall I did a great job. I wish I had a little bit more of a steady hand, because as I'm looking at the ornaments, some of the things came out a little bit crooked, but that's to be expected. It is a DIY, and after all, it was for fun. So I had a great time working on this project. I hope that you enjoyed it, but be sure to leave a comment in the box below and let me know what you think of my holiday rock and roll Beyonce inspired ornaments. So I'm Danielle, the Domestic Scientist, and I have a lifestyle channel here on YouTube where I do some DIYs, some cooking, some decorating, and I have a couple other things that I'm working on launching sometime in the future. If you like what you've seen today, be sure to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.